Yeah, I'll just echo welcome to everybody to this. The I know that over the next 2 years here, we're going to be doing one of these sessions per year. I believe that we've settled on that each member has to attend at least one session, but we do encourage you to attend both of them. We've got a lot of content. We're going to fill 2 hours here. We're going to try to take a very, very brief break in the middle, I think. And so that'll be around 2 o'clock. And then we're going to try to leave a bunch of time for questions at the end. Hopefully the content that you see today is not, hopefully most of it isn't new, but it should be reinforcing a lot of things that we've talked about in previous contexts. And yeah, I think I'll just turn it over to Craig from Carmel Consulting. There will be, I guess the last thing I'll say is just like we've done in the past, if you have questions, comments, I'll be monitoring both the chat and the Q&A. We'll answer questions in the moment if it makes sense to do so. Some questions may be left towards the end. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. I think that covers it. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, sounds good. You've definitely helped me out here on some of the things I wanted to cover as a kickoff. So yeah, let me just introduce myself. First of all, thank you everyone, and welcome to the session. Just a little bit about me. My name is Craig Hashi, based here in Vancouver, cybersecurity consultant as well as virtual CISO. That'll be a half an hour to explain what that's all about, so I won't do that. Yeah, my background, I've been involved with cybersecurity now for over 10 years, and then with that, many other years of being involved with network topology deployments for large organizations as well as mid-size and small. So anyway, enough about me. Let's just talk about next the session. First and foremost, really just to ground us, why is this important? Why is this session important? Well, there's two main reasons here for you. Number one is cybersecurity awareness is without a doubt the most highest value investment you can make in protecting your organization from a cybersecurity point of view. Technology, putting firewalls and different types of technology you can put around your company is good. But what you'll find through the session here is that the ultimate defense is people that are aware of what's going on and how to recognize what these bad actors are up to. So what you can do to prevent incidents from happening, and if they do, how you should best respond to a cyber incident. So we're going to talk about that today and get you armed and dangerous on that front. But the second big reason here is the Chubb cyber insurance compliance. In order to meet the compliance for cyber insurance, cyber security awareness training is required to be taken. So by being here, you are hitting that checkbox. There's also some other things, and we'll talk about that as we get into the session today too. So as far as the timetable, and as Matt has highlighted here, what I'd like to do is we've got 2 hours. I'd like to just kind of split it up a little bit with a break, just so you've got some time just to digest some of the info that we're talking about, and also give us a few opportunities for questions. Yeah, like Matt said, if there's something that is urgent, we'll deal with it right away. But the sort of the session plan here is that after the break, we'll spend some time answering questions that you submitted in the Q&A panel or the chat panel. And then after that, we'll go through the rest of the training material, and then we'll reserve some time at the end for further Q&A. So as far as the session plan, just a real quick view so you know what's in front of you here. The first part is just to get grounded on about what's happening with cybercrime and what we're really facing today. Again, it continues to evolve, and I'm going to show you where we're at this moment. Then we're going to look at what the bad actors are up to, and at the heart of it is social engineering, and we'll show you what that's all about and the techniques that they're using. Then we move into what can we do about it. So protecting the company and your company as well as your client's information is definitely the center of what we're trying to do. And then point 4 there is about your environment. So we're looking now specifically at the information technology that you've got in place and how you can keep that strong to support you and in your business. And then we're going to, as we close in, we're going to talk specifically about some needs from a Society of Notaries BC, Public BC point of view. So we'll get into that, and then finally we'll wrap up just on some of the things that we've covered today. So this video that we're about to watch still reigns supreme as the best. I've been looking at videos over the past few years about what are we up against with cybersecurity. This one still is the number one and encapsulates what's going on. So let's have a look at this and fasten your seatbelts.
How did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicard, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IPO.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at the details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual attack. I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end, when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop. I can't.
Casey, are you on your way to the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
Karen in HR, our benefits dashboard thing's really slow. We're getting calls from users on it. Can you call and get this? Joining conference now.
Apparently, there's a malware attack targeting our main...
It's ransomware. They're holding us hostage. We're locked out of everything. I can't even check my phone. What about the backup?
That will take days.
We need this fixed now. Just pay it. We don't have a choice. We're reporting earnings in 2 hours.
But how do we know
Just
that they'll...
pay it. Put every single person on getting us back up and running. That's the only priority now. Okay, it's done. I have the decrypt key.
Mark, we have a big problem. The ransomware was just to distract us.
They got inside. They got everything. Customer data, financials, everything.
Qualicards is reeling today from the news that hackers have released the personal information of nearly
The
2
Nasdaq
million
closed
customers.
lower today, led by Qualicard, which was down 14% on news that the recent data breach may be far worse than the company
Its stock
originally
fell to a
acknowledged.
new all-time low on news that CEO Mark Hanning is stepping down after what is turning out to be one of the worst breaches of personal information in recent history.
Do you feel bad about releasing the personal information? All the financials? All the money that was lost?
All I did was get the files. I'm not the one that decided to release them. I'm not the one that shorted the stock. Somebody else had their reasons for that. It's above my pay grade. I was paid to do a job, and I did it well. And that's what's expected of anyone, isn't it? Anyway, markets bounce back.
So that is, again, a video that never stops my heart from racing. Anyways, but there's the few of the big takeaways about this is just that cybercrime is such is a business now. I mean, it's an organized company in a lot of cases where you have a company that's organized with developers, social engineers for delivering that that malware, and then they even have help desks for those that are affected to call in and get their decryptor keys, etc. But unfortunately, like the video shows, ransomware is definitely, it hasn't changed. In fact, it's so prevalent today in most of the attacks that we see. And the other part of it is that the ransomware attack typically isn't just about getting your information back, but it's also about stopping your information from being leaked out to the world. So at any rate, just to give you a perspective, and it'll set us up quite well, just to give you a bit more on the numbers now on what cybercrime looks like. So believe it or not, cybercrime now is projected to be an $8 trillion problem this year. It was $3 trillion in 2015, $6 trillion as of 2021. And most of the there's a number of sources, including CISA in the U.S., which is predicting 8 trillion this year. So it's incredible. And just to put that in perspective, if we look at the world economies, you've got the U.S., you've got China, and cybercrime sits at number 3 now in terms of if you're comparing it to world economies. So it's big business. On the slide here, it shows you what's behind that. So and I'll just give you a real quick breakdown of that 8 trillion. So 1.5 trillion of that is related to the proceeds of the financial crime to the perpetrators, whereas the other 6.5 trillion, or 80% roughly, is about how the companies are facing to address it. The problems and things such as the lost productivity, recovering from this, the forensic investigations, liabilities, etc. That's where the biggest costs are. Now, from a notary perspective, I've highlighted really the key areas that we're ultimately facing in the business. So things like what the adversaries are after. It's the money. It always is the money. But perhaps the worst case is touching trust account, ransomware payments, as you say, if your business is shut down, lost productivity, what does that cost you in terms of daily revenue, etc. So it's giving you this, just trying to give you a sense of what's at stake, and then it's really hard to put a number on your damage to reputation, but it's definitely something we feel with this. So in terms of breaches and what we know that's out there right now, 11.6 billion records is what this shows. There was a recent earlier this year, something called the mother of all breaches, which had 25 billion account records in it. Really a consolidation of a lot of what you see on this page, but it's just these breaches, of course, are really the ammunition or what the adversaries are looking for to break in to accounts and to organizations. Always like to make sure you're aware of this website called Have I Been Pwned? Again, recommend that you test this on your own email address. And what it'll do is it'll associate any breaches that your email address may have been associated with. This is really important in the old days when people had just one password for many accounts. So if they were breached, so at, let's say, at Target, suddenly they've had their personal account, email account, but also their business credentials, etc., affected. That was the typical behavior. Seeing far less of that now, where people are using unique credentials, but regardless, it's good to know if you've been affected. And if you have, the first thing to do is to change your password with whoever's been breached. Now, what does all these breaches lead up to? It's cybercrime. Ultimately, what they're after with the breaches we were just sort of looking at is your personal identifiable information, right? So records that have birth dates, passport numbers, driver's license, etc. These are all the keys, of course, to applying for credit or mortgages, etc. So, this is what we're definitely trying to protect ourselves from. Because of the business that we're in, I just wanted to highlight something that was just recent that just came out here. Fortunately, this is the U.S., but a large mortgage industry attack across a number of mortgage servicing and title settlement companies in the U.S. Just a few examples of who was hit. The Mr. Cooper Group, it affected 14.7 million clients of whose personal identifiable information was affected. Loan Depot, 16.6 million. Loan Care, 1.3 million. So the impact ultimately was personal identifiable information. Some of these organizations also were impacted from their clients not being able to access the payment portal, et cetera, on their mortgages. So, but anyway, just thought you'd be interested in seeing this one. From a local cybercrime perspective, KPMG just released a report back in October, and this was pretty eye-opening for me. They surveyed a total of 73 small to mid-sized businesses that are based in Metro Vancouver and on Vancouver Island. And of those, 55% of these companies had been hit by some sort of cyber attack over the past 12 months. So pretty astounding record on that. And the other part, 6 out of 10 companies paid a ransom in the past 3 years. So again, pretty startling information. Not a lot in the study as far as is the vector, but pretty clear as to with most breaches that we see. There was likely credential loss or stealing that was part of this to get in and get the beachhead on these companies. Okay, so let's get into the meat of things now about what we're facing and what these perpetrators are up to. Social engineering is ultimately at the core of what we're faced with here. Social engineering, of course, is nothing new. It's about tricking and deceiving you into divulging confidential or personal information that can be used for fraud and ultimately made into money. It's the con, it's the swindle, but it's internet based, and it's just old techniques, being applied in a new way. So the common types of social engineering, still number one is phishing. So we're going to talk about each of these things. Phishing still, though, is the most prevalent. Basically, racing up on its heels is smishing, which is which is based on texting, and we'll talk about why that's being so powerful. Vishing is phone calls, still very effective, and it's typically common as a lot of cases the first stage of a targeted attack to get information about the company. And then finally, in-person misrepresentation. So somebody coming into the office who's misrepresenting maybe a partner or a client, etc. And again, with the aim of getting at your information as well. And then the more specific and targeted attacks use a combination of all of these. So a few examples that'll be coming up today in our session. So phishing, most common attack, and of course, the delivery agent is email. They're getting better and better at this. Like I say, the old style was emails with bad grammar, or there was some pretty stellar cues or clues that could show you that this might be bad. But now it's getting better and better, and the messages that you're receiving are looking more and more authentic. So we have to be on our toes. And the aim here is could be to get malware onto your computer, trying to steal your credentials, get at sensitive information, or disrupt services as well. So if we look at what type of what forms phishing comes into, fake billing and invoicing is still, it's very strong. You're going to get a message from what they're hoping is someone that you're dealing with, which is saying you need to update your billing, or you've got an incorrect invoice or something like that, something that you're going to react to. Special offers, gift cards, special deals on products that are hard to avoid or to withstand, and you want it. And this definitely happens around the holiday season, but very powerful and attractive. And then the messages that are definitely the most dangerous are those that are spoofed messages. Again, the word spoofed means impersonation. And this would be someone within the organization or someone who is impersonating someone that you're dealing with. Could be a client, could be a partner from, let's say, a financial institution, etc. So ultimately, phishing is malware delivery in a lot of cases, and as well as getting your credentials. This is what they're after. And just a quick example too of a lot of these, the phishing comes with links that, you know, are asking you to respond to something. So a little quick example here, if you compare info@bmo.ca on the left versus the right, there is something different. I'm sure some of you are seeing the difference, but yes, it's the O and the 0. And sorry, let me go back there. So this is how they do it. They typically will try and get a domain name that looks a lot like a legitimate one that you deal with or someone you know. They'll make a change, they'll get that domain, and they will they'll use it for a fake website and try to entice you to give something up. So the issue with phishing is that, and the point we're trying to make here is that we can have good, strong technology with firewalls, intrusion detection, you know, sophisticated endpoint protection, etc. on the technology side. But the problem with phishing is it can bypass all that with a well-crafted message, and that's why this is why a lot of the attacks start with phishing, as you're seeing here. 91% of the major breaches that we read in the headlines today typically start with some sort of social engineering, and phishing is a big part of it. So a quick example, a fairly legitimate looking message here that's come to you. And then some of the main clues here is who did it come from? So we look at this and we see it's supposedly coming from PayPal.com, but if we look a little deeper, we can see that the actual address isn't the PayPal domain at all. And the other thing too is they'll typically include very conveniently highlighted text for links, but you want to hover over that and take a look first, because those, that link could be going somewhere other than where you're expecting it to go. And just one other example that we'll go through here. This is generally, again, just a good checklist of what you want to be looking for here. But number one, where did that email come from? So again, if looking closely at the actual sender's email address, will tell you a lot right away. Now, again, the sophisticated attackers can get around this as well in crafting their emails so that it looks legitimate. But this is the first place you always want to look. And then secondly, the message itself. If you know the person, right? For in this case, if there's a real Roger that you're getting a message from, is there something off in terms of how the message is written? Is it the same sort of language that he typically uses? These are the sort of things you're looking for here. Urgency is always big, right? So you need to move quickly. I need help as Roger. So they're trying to get you to act, and as humans, we tend to respond to that. So you can see that as well happening here. And then, yeah, in some cases too, a little less so, but if a message comes in a way where you're seeing something like, oh, it's from my iPhone, which isn't typical, that might be a clue that there's something off here. So that was phishing. Now, if we go to smishing again, now what we're talking about is text. And why these are a bit more of a concern or dangerous is that we don't have as much ability to analyze that messaging as it's coming in. We've got a smaller screen, as this slide points out. It's, you know, you're typically two when you've got the phone and you're on the go, etc. You may not be, you know, in the mode of looking close and deep at what's in front of you. And you don't have, you know, going back to the smaller screen, etc. You don't have the ability to hover over the sender as well either. So it's not as obvious that you have a smish, as we call it here. So we've got a couple of examples of what a few, and these are real, by the way, you know, a Netflix message about something here. Typically it's your account's been frozen or something. We can see things like mail or parcel delivery services, which are pretty common. And I think I've got one more here. I'm stuck. Oh, here we go. And then tell us. Yeah. So this is one I recently. Actually, this isn't a recent one, but where you have an account payment and it's expired and they want you to make a move. And obviously, that if you look closely at the link there, which is a fraudulent site, it's, you know, the m.app. You know, that domain is a problem. So again, it's just another type. A smish is just another type of phish. Again, you want to look closely, think before you click. Options here, you can, you know, that we're recommending is to, if you do get something like this, you can block the caller. And one other thing you can do as well, which I strongly recommend now too, is to forward the message to 7726. All the carriers, whether it's TELUS or Bell or Rogers version, etc., they take the messages that you forward to them, and they respond and typically try to block that sender from sending anymore. So it's helping getting us more effective on this. Let's talk a bit about malware and the different types. So the things that we need to be worried about or aware of: keyloggers, basically something that's it lands on your machine and it's just going to be capturing your keystrokes. Why this is dangerous is obviously we're looking for credentials, right? So the keylogger may capture that. Remote access terminals is what the acronym RAT stands for. This is where, again, we've got malware running on your machine. The cyber adversary now is able to log into your machine and to monitor it or use it for various reasons. And then spyware, again, the issue here is closely related to the RAT, is to basically monitor for what's happening on your machine, seeing what you're doing, who your clients are, etc. Worms are a bit more pervasive. This is where a piece of malware lands on your machine and then tries to replicate itself through your network onto other machines that it can land on as well. You typically see this with botnets, where it's some of the bigger denial of service type attacks are associated with worms. Ransomware, of course, is one that we are very concerned about today. It's, you know, again, the bigger threat actors out there this is their lead in their attack, is to, you know, cause some damage on your environment, and then to get your data back, they're demanding a ransomware payment. But meanwhile, they may also be accessing your information and exfiltrating that. And then crypto miners, yeah, so this is where you've got malware that's running on your machine. It's busy doing heavy duty processing to generate and create cryptocurrency, primarily Bitcoin. So where we most concerned about that is on web servers, things like that, which are facing the internet, also data center equipment as well is something that the adversaries are targeting. Okay. I'm going to talk a bit about malvertising. Just a quick check, Matt. Is there any questions that have come in yet that we should talk about to this point?
No, nothing yet. I'll keep monitoring the Q&A, folks, if you do have questions. But otherwise, carry on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other thing too is that there's something I'm talking about that's foreign to you and you'd like a bit more, that would be a good opportunity to put something on the chat as well, so we can get a little deeper. Okay, malvertising. Let's talk about that. So if we look at this, I'm just going to see if I can do something here. Yeah, if we look at what we've got here, so what's in green is what's normal. So you've got a website that you're typically interacting with, and the issue here is that the website itself, it may have been infected and could be redirecting you for access to the attacker themselves. So this comes in a number of forms, but it also could be a phishing email that you receive, which perhaps looks like Amazon or something like that. You click the link, but you're actually going to a fake site. But essentially, when you're interacting with what you believe is a true and true and legitimate site, but you're actually being linked to a malicious actor who's trying to collect information. So this comes in a number of different forms. You might be on the website itself. The website could be infected, so banner ads or pop-ups, etc., that could be coming up here to mislead you. I'm going to talk about paid ads on search engines because this one is quite a concern, and it's been happening a lot recently. But ultimately, again, you're going to a place that you didn't intend to go, and so that's the issue. So a few examples here on how that looks. You may be getting, like in this case, a text. And I'll just keep going. Sorry, by the way, I just want to make sure you're not seeing, Matt, can you just confirm you're only seeing what's on my screen right now? I'm getting a few little pop-ups here and there. Looking okay? Okay.
Sorry, my mic was off. We are only seeing the presentation. You're good.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, just had a few pop-ups come up. Okay. Okay, so yeah, malvertising is growing and it's becoming a highly effective threat. Another example here is your PC being infected. I know I've seen that, used to see that a while ago, but it was just a lure. They want you to hit that scan now. So yeah, ultimately the message, and if you walk away with one message today, it's think before you click. It's just something to ingrain in your mind. So one of the things, another thing that's kind of new, and I want to just bring it to your attention as well, is paid ads. So when you do your Google search and you're looking for potential, like a product or service, for instance, one of the tricks now is that the cyber criminal, what they will do is they will take their site, which in this case is a fake site showing Amazon here. But what they do is they link it to Amazon.ca with basically what's called an ad snippet, which is what Google looks at when they look at the website in terms of their search engine calculations. And the worst part here is that they pay the advertiser for their site, so that they get higher up in the list as far as where people are going to go. And Malwarebytes has done a lot of study on this over the past few years, and it just keeps coming up. So Google hasn't, they're shutting it down. Like usually they, a site does this and they get shut down within a day, but it only takes one day, right? So yeah, you want to be careful. You want to be careful with even Google searches. If you get some results and there's a company that looks legit, look further and make sure that you can find the legitimate company first. And it typically, in this particular example here, if we just want to look at this case, in the Amazon case where the cyber threat actor is faking out Amazon, what they're looking you to do is to log in like you normally do on a site that looks just like them, and put in your credentials, and then they've got them so that they could use them as well to buy some things. And of course, the stuff will be going to a different mailing address. That's for sure. So business email compromise is really one of the most important types of attacks that as notaries you want to be concerned about. What this is targeted, very targeted phishing ultimately. And it's typically going to be, as the examples are showing here, perhaps it's an invoice that's coming from one of your suppliers or one of the service providers that you use. Could be coming from a client who may be hacked, for instance, and are requesting information, or someone within the organization. So what it ultimately leads to is an account compromise, and that is your account compromise. So you want to take special steps, particularly on specific types of requests that you get an email that involves financial or major business oriented changes that are coming via email. We're going to get into one of the best examples of that in a moment. But yeah, and here it is, wire transfer fraud. So the business email compromise is definitely the most popular way that we see this happening. And you typically will see a combination of attempts here for the more sophisticated ones. But yes, an email will come, and again, as I say, a lot of times the email has been hacked. So it's the clue of the where the email has come from is not enough. It's the request itself, which is the dangerous one that we need to be sensitive to. So in this case, where the thing to watch out for is you're getting a request that we need to make a change on where the money is coming from or going to. If you get some kind of request like that, don't obviously rely on the email. You want to basically get in touch with the client or the seller, your client, to make sure that what they want to do, or what they're requesting do is official and legitimate. The other signs, of course, is urgency. Like we say, it's typically in a lot of these attacks. So, again, your spider sense should go up on that. There's also cases too, whereas if you've had a computer or a server that's been hacked in your office, and they've got the credentials there, the attacker may try to do the change themselves. So that's obviously far more rare, but it has happened. So I have to share that with you. Again, a few examples, and again, these are public ones. There's a tremendous amount of non-public cases that are out there too. But yeah, it's unfortunately just fairly successful. And if we look in this case, this lady here from Ottawa, she received a message who apparently was coming from her boss to make a wire transfer, which she followed, and it resulted in 130K of impact. And in the case of the Waterloo Brewing, it was far more. So anyway, again, it's real. It's still happening, and it's happening a lot. So what can you do about defending against this type of fraud? Yeah, ultimately verify the wire transfer request is legitimate by contacting the sender of the request. If you should have some sort of procedure that you follow. Good. It's good to have this. Multi-party verification is good too, where instead of just one person having the ability to approve a major wire transfer request, have it so it needs to be have a secondary approver as well. Just that second set of eyes to make sure that it's we're on the right track here. Okay, let's see, anything else? Yeah, meeting in person, if that's possible, always good, especially on the larger deals, but definitely calling the person by the contact information you have, not what's in the message. Contacting them to verify that this is legit is a great thing to do. Another recommendation is to having a secure list of trusted contact information. So this would be for sure at your financial institutions, etc. Anywhere where you have it's a recurring sort of set of business partners that you're dealing with. Having a name, phone number, mobile number, etc., that you can reach them at quickly is a very good thing to have, as well as your team if you're not available. Okay, protecting your company and clients' information. Let's get into that. So yeah, with notary public work and business, you are just a treasure trove of PII. Trust account information, wills and client personal identifiable information, client net worth, real estate holdings. It's a lot of very valuable information for a cyber criminal to get at. So a key point here is email avoid it for sharing or transferring this type of information. It's highly insecure, and you typically want to work with service partners to use a better way to share information like this. One of the simple examples is even with a client using something like SharePoint with with a login that they only have to share information with a folder is a very simple way of doing that. But again, email is very insecure, and primarily too because of it doesn't, you have no control once it leaves you, right? It can sit on a mail server for long, it can be forwarded, etc. And then again too, it's one of the first places that the attackers are going to hack is a mail server.
We've got a quick question, Craig. How do you feel
Sure.
about fax? What are your
How do I
thoughts
feel
on
about
the security of fax? Yeah.
Oh, faxing? That's a funny one. The issue with faxing is that if the information is sitting on the fax machine for any length of time, particularly if it's sensitive, just like a printer, there's definitely a concern there. You still see faxes being used, right, by the legal profession as well. So I do think it should be on its way out, but it is still here. So I think in some ways it can be better than email, though, because it's once it's delivered, it's delivered. But yeah, again, the main concern is how long is it's going to sit on that fax machine.
One of those rare situations where it's perhaps so archaic that it's actually more secure. But
It's
yeah,
that's right. That's
not
right.
necessarily a reason to start using fax machines, but
No, definitely not. No, we need to move forward if we can. But yeah, other things too. You think about the old phone systems as well, right? Where we had, it was all based on wires coming into your home, and now moving to voice over IP. Voice over IP, unfortunately, has made things simpler for some of these spam calls as well, right? But we're seeing that being addressed slowly but surely as well by TELUS and companies who are trying to deal with these foreign actors, specifically sending all that spam messaging.
If I may, one more. We've got,
Sure.
and I know that you may not be able to go into specifics, but maybe you can. The question is, do you recommend any specific provider for secure sending of documents as an alternative to email?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. There's a number of things that are out there. One of them that a company I'm pretty familiar with used something called ShareFile, which basically separates the whole point of using email for light correspondence with clients, but then when it came to actually sharing sensitive documents, ShareFile was used, which is, I think, owned by VMware now, if my memory serves me correct. But it's a mechanism where you have better control of ensuring that the documents are safe. The other thing that is, again, I don't like to say email, but there's the Proton emails. You're starting to see that a little bit more. I do believe it gives them options now where the message, if you send a message, that it has a timeout on it, so that if it's not opened within a certain amount of time, it won't be on the server anymore, right? So there's options like that. There's a number of other collaboration mechanisms, but SharePoint as well. Again, if you're using Microsoft, you can set up arrangements where your client has their own way of authenticating before they get access to the documents, right? And it goes both ways. So where they can upload and share, and then you have control where you can also remove that information as well when you're all done with it. So that's working. And then of course Google too. Google's got the Google Suite services where you can set things up. So spending some money on a service makes sense here because we're talking about particularly documents where you've got lots at stake. You want that you want to take a moment there. All right. So we're getting into now what we can do now to protect ourselves. I'm just going to talk a little bit about passwords, and then let's take a quick break. So unfortunately, passwords, and I say unfortunate because passwords are the bane of security still. But on the horizon, we are seeing changes. We are seeing a lot of moves that are trying to get us to more of a passwordless approach. But we're not there yet. So passwords are something that we do still need to be able to handle in a best practice sort of way. So what do we need to do is we have to use strong passwords first and foremost. We're going to talk about what that looks like up next, but again, it's very important. Passwords being strong, long enough that they can't be broken easily. And then the word passphrase here is one of the better ways to create one that's memorable. Multi-factor authentication is absolutely essential now, whenever possible. It just makes things that much harder for the attacker. So when we're going to get into far more on MFA as well. Keeping your business accounts and your personal accounts separate, that's important, right? So things you're doing for fun and, you want to keep that separate from your business accounts, just because if your personal account is hacked, you don't want that to bleed into your business account ultimately. So you kind of split things that way. And then it's how we deal with those passwords that we have created. They can be super strong and powerful, but if they're visible and they can be found, then they are not that strong anymore. So we want to be very careful with them. I've highlighted don't share because I am aware there are examples and cases where you need to be able to do that. And we've got a solution for that for you to talk about as well coming up. But for now, just as a default rule, try not to share any of your credentials with anyone. And then the password manager is something that's really now becoming almost essential to manage passwords effectively. And why is that? And that's the main reason is because of what we talked about earlier, all those breaches. We need unique usernames and passwords whenever we can, and when we to track that or to manage that, in our just by memory, few of us can do that. So a password manager is a very good way to go. So again, believe it or not, what I'm showing you here are passwords that people do continually use. Sorry, let me just go back. Again, there's analysis and studies that come from different organizations, including Semantic, which is shown here, and then we're still seeing passwords like this being used. There might as well not have a password at all in these cases. So the best password is a passphrase. And the main point here is to develop a password that is strong, but you can remember without having to constantly refer to it on a written piece of paper. So, example that we give is to come up with, remember something that's memorable to you. Could be a song, could be a poem, could be a jingle, a quote, etc. Something that's important to you that may not be that obvious to people that know you as well. So we start off in this case with a famous Beatle song here. And we take the first letter of each word and we come up with the letters you see in purple there. Then we sprinkle some special characters in there to make it stronger and also meet the compliance of a lot of passwords that need to be used with online services today. And then a house number. A number, a set of numbers that you can remember. And so the example we give here is a house number, but seriously, anything that you can remember. Could be a sports player's a jersey number. Could be many things, right? So something that you put it together, and there you've got a fairly strong password, right? We're looking at 12 characters. That's pretty good. I would now aim for 14, to be quite honest. Just be the way the password crackers are working today. But nonetheless, you will have no trouble creating a strong password with a passphrase, because you can pretty quickly get there with a quote or something that's memorable. Okay, so that is, I think where let's stop here. Let's take a few minutes. Right now I'm showing 2:01 p.m. So if we could get back by 2:10, does that sound reasonable, Matt? Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, perfect.
Just as people are taking a break, I just want to point out in the attendees, the vast majority of you are good, but double check that your name is showing up. I see a couple on my screen that show up just as meeting guest. There's a few others that might just be one letter. The Society would love to give you education credits for attending, but you cannot get credited unless they know who you are. So make sure that you adjust your settings so that your name is showing up properly.
Okay, let's have a look at the chat here. Oh, good. Okay, we're talking about some password managers. That's good.